Hey everyone, Matron here, bringing you another StarCraft 2 commentary. This time, another game in our week of Vile Spanishiwa. It's going to be a ZVT featuring Vile Spanishiwa spawning as the Blue Zerg, and his opponent, the Red Terran, will be EtsurLizzuma. It's a pretty difficult name to pronounce, but it's around rank 50 on the Master's Ladder, 163 and 103, so about 25 spots below Vile Spanishiwa, but still in some good company, e.g. in Control and others, some pretty high level players around that same ranking. So this is a player that I've never heard of before, but obviously if you are that high in the Grandmasters League, then you're doing quite well for yourself. And we'll see how he fares against Vile Spanishiwa. Looks like at this point not going to be doing any sort of wall off, and that can be a little bit dangerous, but Spanishiwa not really known for his early game aggression. So Etsur may be okay keeping everything a little bit more close to home, maybe more difficult to scout, as well as Vile Spanishiwa's first Overlord, probably going to come down here and see what he can see. And the reason I wanted to do a whole week surrounding Vile Spanishiwa here is just because I find his builds very interesting. He goes gasless for quite a while, and I think that a lot of players are having success with his builds and looking for weaknesses. So I wanted to take this week and look at all the matchups. I already did one ZVT, and I'm going to do perhaps this one and maybe one other, and then move on to the other matchups. But what he's going to try to do is get down a fast expansion here. It looks like Etsur is going to be denying him though. So very nice job with this SCV. And Spanishiwa might actually have to go pool first here. It looks like, yes, he's going to squeeze in that hatchery right at 15 and 16 supply there. So Etsur losing his focus there for just a moment. Should have kept trying to block that hatchery, as Spanishiwa likes to get down that early hatch and then go pool. And again, he's going to defend primarily with queens and spine crawlers in the early going. And I'll be interested to see how he uses his defense here on Scrap Station. The first thing he wants to do is try to combine these two bases and connect the creep between the main and the natural, but with a very wide ramp here. And I don't really see any particular place where he could place a spine crawler, which would be highly effective in the early going. Before he's able to get a spine crawler down and connect these two bases with creep, any sort of 2 racks or bunker play could actually be in effect beforehand. So I'll be interested to see how he chooses to defend this, how he's able to defend this. Because again, everybody's looking for ways to beat this build. Looks like he's going to try to take down this SCV. That's a smart thing to do, because you don't want that SCV starting a bunker anywhere or being able to finish a bunker that another SCV does start. The more SCVs across the field for the Terran, the more options he does have. So it looks like Spanishiwa going to have up this hatchery in the natural and just starting his 2 queens and 6 lings coming out. So that's way more lings than usual for Spanishiwa. But we'll see what he's able to do with those. And back in the base of EtsurLizzuma, he's got a factory coming. He's got 1 gas. So I imagine he may be going for some sort of Hellion play. He does not have any reactor on this barracks for now. And he's streaming across a few Marines, and they're going to try their hand at applying a little bit of pressure. But we see these 6 Zerglings of Spanishiwa making their way across the field. They are going to see these Marines. The Marines doing a nice job scooting and shooting away from those Lings, able to take down 2 or 3 at the start here. And now another Marine being added to the mix. And all those Lings will go down for Spanishiwa. He's not replacing those at the moment. So right now he's lost about 4 lings, I believe, maybe even closer to 6, and Etsur does have this Xel'Naga tower, and Spanishiwa is moving in here, and he's going to be scouting the tech lab on the factory with this Overlord. And a lot of people say that the build that Spanishiwa does is weak to many things, but Spanishiwa does a great job of scouting. And you'll see that he cancels buildings, he'll cancel spine crawlers if he doesn't feel like there's any pressure coming. So he makes sure that he reacts totally to the scouting information that he does have as the first Hellion on its way, trying to help these Marines. But at this point, the Queens have connected the 2 bases with creep. We see a lot of active tumors here, and 4 Queens is going to be too many for these Marines to handle. The creep continues to spread as all these tumors are doing a nice job making this a Zerg hangout, and it looks like a Roach Warren coming down for Spanishiwa at the same time as he takes just 2 of his gas. So mixing it up a little bit. Usually he takes his 4 gas all at once, and with the first 100 gas goes for Lair Tech, and the second 100 goes for Zergling speed. But instead he's getting down a Roach Warren, and he did see that the tech lab was on this factory, so perhaps he's expecting Blue Flame Hellions. But it looks like Etzer going for a kind of a 1-1-1 build here, but adding on another Rax as well, and also expanding off this pressure with the Marines and the Hellion. Spanishiwa does see the expansion there with that Overlord well positioned, and now he's going to have this tower as well, or Etzer will. So we do see the Lair Tech coming out for Spanishiwa, and again he has this Roach Warren. It's not really his style. And he has added the third and fourth gas a little bit late here. Spanishiwa says if you want to make roaches, then you're just going to lose. So we'll see how he is able to use these roaches. And again, the Infernal Pre-Igniter about halfway done. So we'll see how Etzer fares against these roaches. Typically, Spanishiwa just uses queens, and I'm not really sure why he's not using queens, as the queens should be able to guard the ramp here with maybe one spine crawler, but instead we have a number of roaches coming out. We have Lair Tech about to finish, and we have a quick third. So one of the things that you can do when you see your Terran opponent go for a fast natural there is just get on a quick third yourself. A Viking coming in here, and this is very smart by Etzer. He's going to try to clear as many Overlords as he can. Good Zerg players will have all their Overlords well positioned near the Terran base, and Spanishiwa pulling back with his Overlords, so losing a little bit of map control. And now Etzer pulling back here with this one Hellion. He sees these roaches moving across the field. The roaches do not have speed. We do see a metabolic boost about 20% of the way done. And it looks like canceled that pre-igniter. I noticed that went away from the production tab there. So these roaches making their way in. You're going to try to focus down the Hellions first, just so there's no threat of Hellions making their way into the drone line of Spanishiwa. Spanishiwa loves his drones. If we check the income tab, it is 44 to 38 at this point. So a little bit ahead of his Terran opponent, and he's got a Nidus network coming, and that Viking is going to be doing a great job clearing out the Overlords away from Esther's base. So it's going to be quite difficult to get a Nidus network or a Nidus up into the base of Etzer. But this is back more towards the style of what Spanishiwa likes to go for. He goes for upgrades on his Lings, and then gets Infestors as his hive, or as his Lair Tech. Quickly works his way up the hive and uses ultras, constant pressure and aggression. Against Terran, typically likes to favor Nidus, ultras coming out of those, and Infestors. Against Protoss, likes to go for more Baneling bombs coming out of those Overlords. We do see that the pneumatized carapace on the way, so Overlords and Overseer is going to be quite fast in just a moment. And now moving across the field with these Speedlings, taking back this tower, making sure that he's able to protect this third as he does get it saturated. It is 46 now to 48, so Etzer is keeping up, adding on his own third and fourth gas. And in Etzer's base, we do see that he has a sensor tower, so he's going to be able to get a bead on any Overlords which are in the field of that sensor tower. And it looks like a drop choosing not to come in here, but instead he might be denying as a Nidus Worm coming up here, trying to get an expansion, and he might try to deny with this medevac, dropping one at a time, but out come the units from Spanishiwa. They're going to be able to clean up all these, and Etzer needs to book it out of there. Spanishiwa has no anti-air, so the medevac escaping here relatively unharmed. And now we see missile turrets going up around the base of Etzer. He's got a nice few Marines as well, and he's going to try to take down any Overlords which attempt to place a Nidus in his base. At this point, it looks like he's also expanding to a third, so keeping up base-wise with Spanishiwa, the 4 queens coming out of that Nidus and taking down that pesky Viking. 1 queen staying so that she can get creep tumors, as well as injects on this hatchery. So Spanishiwa will be on 4 bases, Etzer will be on 3. And we'll see what Etzer is able to do, how he's able to handle this Nidus play. Already, I like his reaction. He's got missile turrets, he's got sensor towers, and even more missile turrets going up all around. He's adding an engineering bay and an armory, so he's going to be able to go for Thors and maybe get some upgrades for his factory units. Just 1 factory at the moment, a second on the way. He does have stim, does not have that combat shield for the Marines, and now pushing out, he's got a second sensor tower. So pretty well covered. You see the huge area of these sensor towers. They're going to see anytime an Overlord comes in, and this Overlord for Spanishiwa perhaps trying to put down a Nidus, but instead it's going to be taken down by the missile turret. The Nidus does go up, but it looks like Etzer does have units here in his main. At the same time, he's pushing into the third of Spanishiwa, setting up a siege here, and Spanishiwa a little bit out of position with those units. He's probably got a bunch of them in the Nidus. And Etzer moving in here, going to try to focus down this third. The hatchery goes down very fast with all these Marauders, and an interesting decision from Etzer to go for Marauders here. Typically we see mostly Marines against Zerg in the TVZ matchup here, and now it looks like drones being pulled off the line, as well as a lot of Lings and a few roaches, and they are going to keep Etzer on his heels here. He's going to have to retreat back to this planetary fortress. A few drones going down to that planetary. He's got 11 total kills. So wow, this hatchery very low for Spanishiwa, also expanding to the gold. So a lot of expansions going up for both players. And it looks like a spine crawler or two going up into the northern position here. So you're going to try to prevent against any drops there. And this hatchery is so low, if Etzer is able to push forward with just a few stim marauders, they do so much damage to armored units, those buildings. Could take down that hatchery and stop all mining from this third. It is 70 harvesters to 54. So wow, the Terran player actually far ahead here in the harvester count and in income with those mules, trying to focus down this Nidus worm. And this is something Spanishiwa likes to do with Nidus, is he'll throw him up next to each of his bases so that he can be very mobile. He'll have units in the Nidus and he can react to any sort of drop play or any sort of attack at any of his bases. Scrap Station is a huge map diagonally, as this gold very far away from the main and from this island. So if you're trying to defend a huge position here, you're very wide open. The Terran can come through the center, they can drop in your island here, or they can quickly stim and come down to the gold. Looks like that's going to happen right now. Etzer moving down with just a few units, and it looks like he's going to be waiting here. I believe he does know about that. No, he does not. He sees a little bit of creep, so now perhaps pushing down with a few more units. Again, we have a Viking cleaning up the overlords here, so no Nidus play coming in for Spanishiwa, and he seems relatively shut down. At this point, he's got a lot of roaches. They do not have speed, and we do see a nice fungal growth going down there on the bio of Etzer. He's got a decent position here set up with those siege tanks, and in the south doing a lot of damage to these drones at the gold. Spanishiwa not reacting yet, just finally doing so, reacting a little bit late there. And now it looks like with a few more units, looks like Spanishiwa will be cleaning this up. A number of spine crawlers going down again, and this is going to prevent against small numbers of Terran bio. But if Etzer does decide to take that gold down, it won't be much trouble for him. He's got this planetary fortress set up. He's got barracks preventing good surround on the planetary fortress from any offensive units from the Zerg. And it looks like the siege tank's continuing to shell and hold this position. A scan goes up, taking out a lot of the creep, and we have burrow on these roaches now, but again, I do not believe they have speed. So Spanishiwa, you definitely need speed if you're going to make roaches, man. Looks like no upgrades right now. He does have out the infestation pit, but no pathogen glands. So a little bit off his game at this point, and we do see the Mobius reactor as well as Ghost finally coming out for Etzer. So this is one thing that I think Terran are going to start reacting. Now that Infestors are very good in all matchups, we're going to see more feedback, we're going to see more EMP on Infestors, and Zerg players are going to have to learn to keep their Infestors spread out to prevent those EMPs from doing a lot of damage. Looks like Etzer at this point has got 2 drops set up, and he can use this high ground to shell the gold here if he chooses. Looks like he's going to do just that. We got a Nidus, though, in the north of Etzer's base. We got a lot of Ultralists. At the same time, that gold is being shelled from above by those siege tanks. The Ultras working on all these workers, and it looks like a ton of workers being taken down by Spanishiwa. A burrow going down on an Ultralist there. It takes 2 full seconds to burrow an Ultra. They're so huge. And now trying to focus down the Marines, but the medevac coming in here, as well as Ghost with snipes, able to take down that Ultra. He does have 1 hidden Ultra here, so if Etzer did not do a good job of seeing the Ultra burrow there, he might be in for a rude surprise a little bit later on. And it looks like with the Infestors and fungal growths, Etzer is not going to be able to take down this gold. So a failed attack from him there, but he was able to defend against the Nidus of Spanishiwa, actually focusing down his own supply depot there. Not really sure about that. And now up comes the Ultralisk, and he's going to do his best against these Marines, but the Marines stimming up, and they are able to take down that Ultralisk with relative ease. So at this point, if we do a little bit of a recap, we do see that the hatchery went down for Spanishiwa, so he is on 4 bases, and Etzer is now on 4 bases himself, setting up this southernmost base. And this is hardly ever a base you see get up on this map. Most players going for that gold as their 4th, but with Spanishiwa having that, Etzer has to take the most southern base. Now moving into the gold, a great EMP, taking down all the energy of those Infestors, and Infestors are basically the only way that Spanishiwa is going to fight against this bio at this point. He basically does not go for any sort of Baneling play, so he uses those Infestors, the fungal growth, to take down huge numbers of Marines and really put the Terran player, making him uncomfortable pushing out. But without any energy, the Infestors are not able to do that. So nice EMPs by Etzer. He's pulling back. He's taking down 2 hatcheries now. Spanishiwa trying to get up another one, and it looks like he will be counterattacking towards this planetary fortress, doing his best. The siege tanks having to get into siege mode a little bit late. The Ultralisks are already in position here. The bio a little bit behind, and now he needs to get a fungal or 2 off on this bio, but I'm not sure he's got the energy, as we don't see many Infestors coming out for Spanishiwa, having to turn tail or turn Ultralisk, whatever they have, and run away from this bio force. He was able to take down a number of tanks there, but now we see the bio, a lot of Marauders for Etzer. They're going to be quite good against those Ultralisks, and Spanishiwa struggling at this point. He does have the island up and running quite well, and he's got 3 bases, this 4th about to come up, so he's going to have to do his best to get back in this. He's on even bases with the Terran. It is 80 Harvesters to 70. Army-wise, it is 5,900 to 4,600, and it looks like this Viking still being very annoying, taking down Overlords whenever it can find one. And at this point, Spanishiwa down to just 3 queens, so he needs to make a few more queens to add to this army mix and get some nice transfuses off on the Ultralisks as they do force their way in here. Now it looks like the Ultra's getting a little bit too close to those tanks, and Etzer at this point just pressing his advantage, dropping on the northern part, focusing down the Nidus Worm first so that no reinforcements can come in for Spanishiwa. Down goes one of the spine crawlers, the second one will go down shortly, and it looks like this base will also fall. So Etzer is in very good position, but we do have another Nidus in the back of the minerals here, and out come a lot of Ultralisks trying to clean this up. At the same time, Spanishiwa moving into the 3rd near the planetary fortress of Etzer, and it looks like he's able to break there, and he's able to take down a lot of those siege tanks and bio. In comes some Broodlords as well, so that might be the key for Spanishiwa turning this around. He's not able to get a good surround on that planetary fortress because those barracks are there, but he was able to do a ton of damage against the bio units. And the looks like one Ultralisk here just taking his time in the mineral line, doing the best that he can. He is trying to attack one of the SCVs in here, but he is being a little bit stubborn there. And now looks like Etzer is able to focus down the rest of the Ultras. We do see a few Broodlords, but they're so slow, they're not going to be able to keep up to the Infestors and Ultras as they do push in. But they're shelling the barracks here. If he's able to take this barracks down, he could get a decent surround. But in come the Marines, and a stim goes up. Down goes one of the Broodlords very quickly. A few Vikings coming in as well. They're going to try to focus down the Corruptors and take back the air from the Zerg player. Down go all of those Ultralisks, and the Roach is falling as well. Again, no speed for the Roaches. And I'm not really sure what Spanishiwa is doing with those. He doesn't seem comfortable using those in his army mix. And we just see an Infestor with 1 fungal growth in him, and it's a decent one, but a lot of the bio is going to be dodging it. A few more Broodlords come in, and it looks like the Corruptors were able to win the air battle, so they are going to start picking off medevacs one by one, but a few more Marines coming in as well, some tanks, and the Marines are going to stim up and try to take down the Zerglings before they can get to them. The tanks and the Marines doing their best to shoot and scoot backwards, and just tons of units coming from both players at this point, and I'm not really sure how to call this. We see more Ghosts coming in. They do have enough for an EMP, so they're, wow, great EMP going off on 3 of those or 3 of those Infestors, and not enough for a fungal growth from any of those. We see Vikings are going to be cleaning up the Broodlords, and now Vile Spanishiwa once again having to turn around and run and go home, as the Broodlords will go down. Another Broodlord coming in, but he's not going to be able to do too much against these Vikings. 3-3 upgrades for the Marines and the Marauders at this point, and the Broodlord's going to do his best to pick off as many of those as possible before it does go down. Spanishiwa did not lose this hatchery in the north. He's up and running, well, not quite running on that gold, but he's running on his 3rd here, on his natural, and he's all mined out almost in the main. If we check the income tab, he's actually got a bit of an advantage. It is 81 Harvesters to 60, but mineral-wise, he was in a slight advantage for a moment there, but now it looks like Etzer is ready, set on these 4 bases. He is all mined out in his natural and his main, so Spanishiwa actually did a nice job spreading out his drones so that he's not mined out in many bases here. He's going to be able to continue to mine, but we do see some Stim Marauders. They take down hatcheries so fast. Now with 3 upgrades, doing 26 damage to Armored, and Stim, they're attacking every second basically, or every 1.5 perhaps, and able to take down the hatcheries so quickly, but it looks like Spanishiwa going to be moving in here, gets a nice fungal down on those Marines, and that's exactly what he needs to do to get back into this game. He needs to avoid those EMPs, and he needs to get fungals on Marines, and then clean up with these Ultras as best he can. The Ultra's doing great damage against tanks, and an EMP going down on the Ultras. Sorry guys, they don't have any energy, and now he needs to move in here with these Infestors and get another fungal or two off, but it looks like all the Ultras will go down. And there goes the fungal, so that's going to slow down the Terran a little bit. But if we check the army counting station, it's 3,500 and 900. What does Spanishiwa have coming? He's got 9 Infestors, he's got 2 Ultras, and 1 Ultra just going to go to his death here. A little bit of a miss rally for Spanishiwa. A second one almost caught, and he needs to pull back. He needs to wait for these Infestors. He needs to spread them out, and he needs to get some good fungals down on these Ghost Marines and Marauders. Wow, so Spanishiwa doing his best. He's got an Ultra here. Looks like he's going to retreat with him. He's got a few units in the Nidus Worm and Ultra as well as an Infestor. And again, he needs to push forward and get some... Oh no! Needs to get fungal growths down. Instead, just misrallying a few of these units. There goes another Infestor goes down. And an EMP goes off there, taking down the energy of a lot of these Infestors. A fungal does go down, but these Infestors are just completely energyless. As another fungal goes down and does clean that up a little bit. But Etzer at this point still has quite the advantage. He's got this strong siege position, and without a lot of Lings, without a lot of Ultras, I'm not sure that Spanishiwa is going to be able to break this. Looks like he has abandoned the Broodlord idea, and he has burrowed these Infestors. That's a good idea. You're not going to get any EMPs on burrowed Infestors unless you do a scan. So 3 of those Infestors being taken down there, and Etzer just relentless with this pressure. We check another Nidus Worm trying to go up in the main of Etzer, but instead focused down by those SCVs. And Spanishiwa at this point just sort of scrambling. He's got this gold already taken down. He's just mining off of basically 1.5 bases right now with the mineral or with the drone count. And again, in come these Marauders quickly focusing down the hatchery here. And at this point, the income of Spanishiwa not looking too good. See, he's still got some Infestors, but they are low on energy. Some great EMPs going off constantly by Etzer. And just action going on all over the map here. At this point, got an SCV doing a little bit of scouting. I'm not sure that Vile Spanishiwa sees that. And checking for the another base over here. We've got a Nidus going to try to reinforce, but again, another Ultra goes down. And Spanishiwa really needs to pull back. He needs to get a big defense going with Ultras, Lings, and a few Infestors, well-placed fungal growths, and then he can try to break out of this and take back this third or the gold. He's got an Ultra down here, and he's able to move around a little bit with these Nidus Worms, so he's still quite mobile on this very wide map. But at this point, Etzer's got a strong position. He's got these 4 bases, though he's mined out at basically all of them. So his income actually not going very high here. There's just basically 1 base and the gold left that either player could take, and in comes a Nidus Worm, and Etzer going to try to focus that down with SCVs. They do go down, I believe, if SCVs get a quick surround on them, and now trying to move in with small groups of units, and no fungals here for Spanishiwa. He needs to get fungals on these bio units. He had a few more Infestors, I'm not sure where they went, but instead focusing down those Ultras is Etzer, and he's able to take them down very quickly. And wow, Spanishiwa loses this one on a map with Nidus play that I thought he might be able to take. He did go for those Roaches in the early going, and Etzer did a nice job reacting. He canceled the pre-igniter, and he switched up his plans a little bit. And then Spanishiwa got out those Infestors a tad bit late, and the EMP was already on the field for Etzer, and he just got some clutch EMPs a number of times on those Infestors. And instead of being able to wrestle back map control and take down the planetary fortress here, instead those EMPs made it so that he was not able to handle the bio, the Marines and Marauders of Etzer. See, Etzer did a nice job with those barracks around the planetary fortress as well, so he could not get a surround with the Ultralisks, and didn't lose any bases there, continued to take down hatcheries with small groups of units, small groups of Marines and Marauders as they are stemmed up, take down hatcheries so very quickly, and Spanishiwa drops this one. So again, going to be looking at Spanishiwa all week, and going to be looking at some builds and tactics which sort of counter what he goes for. This one is a little bit unfair since he went for a different build than usual. He went for Roach Warren. He did not get his 4 gas all at the same time. So I'll go ahead and probably cast one more ZVT this week with him, and then focus on the other matchups as well. Got a lot of good ZVPs. I haven't cast any of those yet, but some great players, TT1 especially. Spanishiwa's got some nice ones against him. So if you're looking for more Spanishiwa or StarCraft 2 action all week long, check out my channel Matron StarCraft at youtube.com. Thanks for watching this one. Take care.